She provided a photo of the two of you together.
Yes.
Your arm was around her waist.
Yes.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at 20 of the most irritating celebs getting publicly called out.
You've got a choice, I think, haven't you?
What, going or not going?
Well,
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 20, Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, I think if you bought a biography by me and I didn't mention being publicly shamed over tax, you would feel shortchanged. Very much like HMRC did.
Fair play to Jimmy Carr. In the wake of his massive tax avoidance scandal in 2012, he went on that week's 8 out of 10 Cats and opened himself up to all manner of abuse from the panelists. He sat there and took everything they threw at him, and in the years since, he even advocated against himself and his tax-dodging antics.
So this isn't tax evasion, this is tax avoidance. So it's following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law.
Considering he'd also made jokes about tax avoidance before this all came out, the public humiliation was even more thorough.
Was there a little bit of you that was quite excited when he named you on the telly, though?
It's nice to be on the news, because
Exactly.
it rates.
As soon as it came to light, he withdrew from the scheme he'd been using, which was unwise but not illegal, and returned the £500,000 he owed to the public purse. Number 19, Boris Johnson.
And one of the ways it went wrong is ringing you up on tape and suggesting that you help him beat up a journalist who was looking into him.
That did come up.
Is he a celebrity? Well, he certainly wants to be, and he's been attacked in public many times over the years. That's part and parcel of being a politician, but there are plenty of memorable instances of Boris, in particular, being called out more than the others.
See, I've been totally stitched up. I want it on the record. I've walked straight into a massive elephant trap. I should have spotted it.
His many appearances on Have I Got News For You have left him at the mercy of the country's top comedians, while even his resignation speech wasn't allowed to go by without mockery. A pro-EU activist set up camp outside Downing Street with a speaker playing Bye Bye Boris, a Tory-themed cover of Bye Bye Baby, which could be heard on the television broadcast.
Well, after that embarrassment, Boris wrote a piece in The Telegraph attacking the show and claiming that it was all scripted, which, of course, is categorically... Sorry, I'll just read that again.
Number 18, James Cordon.
I want to speak to James here. It's James, isn't it?
We love to hate him, and for good reason. Many times, Cordon has been called out in public. There was Ricky Gervais pointing out that Cordon had nicked a joke from him, there were stories that he didn't pay his writers properly, and there was the incident where he was extremely rude to service workers. But we're talking about the time he was sternly told off by none other than Sir Patrick Stewart at Glamour magazine's Woman of the Year Awards back in 2010.
Don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Stewart called him out for looking like he didn't even want to be there, and for not taking his job seriously. At the time, people supported Cordon, but in hindsight, we know just what kind of person he is.
And if it looked like that, I'm so sorry. But when you come up and present an award, just get on with it. There we go.
Number 17, Paul McCartney.
Anyway, there were 4 of us in that band, and it just seems to be George and I, Yoko, Sean and Julian here.
The truth about how and why the Beatles split up is complicated to say the least, but a lot of people would argue that McCartney has more blame than the others. The band largely broke up because they disagreed about who should manage them, Alan Klein or the Eastmans.
I don't have to say much because I'm the quiet Beatle.
18 years later, the former Beatles were having business trouble again, and things got so intense that, in 1988, McCartney refused to attend the band's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It is unfortunate Paul's not here because he was the one who had the speech in his pocket.
Barbs were made at his expense, with George Harrison lamenting that McCartney didn't show up, while Yoko Ono said that if John could have been there, he would have, unlike McCartney.
I wish John was here. He would have been here, you know. He would have come.
Number 16, Gary Neville. For years, in the run-up to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, there was controversy. Not only over how Qatar was able to win the bid, but over its atrocious record on human rights.
But you know David Beckham, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going, isn't he?
Yeah.
How much has he been paid?
I don't know.
You do know.
Then all eyes were on the pundits at the BBC and whether they'd put their money where their mouths are and refuse to attend. Ultimately, very few of them were brave enough, and that included Gary Neville, who found himself in an argument with Ian Hislop when he hosted Have I Got News for You?
I mean, you're commentating there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm commentating there.
And what's the defence? Football term.
Neville tried to defend himself for commenting on the matches despite speaking out against Qatar, only to be embarrassed by Hislop and Merton for his hypocrisy.
There's another option. You stay at home and highlight the abuses. You don't have to go and take the Qataris' money.
Number 15, Joey Barton. From one footballer to another, in early 2024, Joey Barton made headlines for his comments about female football commentators.
Annie and Lucy Ward, the Fred and Rose West of football commentary.
Only 2 months after being sacked by Bristol Rovers, Barton took aim at Annie Aluko, bizarrely comparing her to Fred and Rose West for daring to commentate on the men's game. This is the same Annie Aluko who boasts more than 100 caps for England versus Barton's 1. Fans were divided, but many said that if female commentators know just as much about the game, they should be able to commentate.
You've got Laura Woods, who's one of the best football presenters in the game. She's a woman. She's been furious today about what you said. Why should people like that be excluded from the men's game?
Given the massive popularity of the Lionesses after achieving victory in the Euros and reaching the semi-finals in the Women's World Cup, this has been catastrophic for Barton.
And I used to get this when I worked at TalkSport, because there's some footballers who think because you've never played football at professional level, you shouldn't have a view, which is clearly nonsensical.
Number 14, Richard Dawkins. Atheist-in-chief Richard Dawkins embarrassed himself on Twitter back in 2021 by making a very ill-conceived tweet about Kafka's Metamorphosis. He wrote about how he couldn't take Metamorphosis seriously, saying it's bad science fiction, unlike Animal Farm, in his words. He was royally mocked, with people recommending children's books to him instead, since he was struggling to comprehend Kafka and, indeed, erroneously calling Animal Farm a science fiction novel too, which anyone will tell you, it absolutely isn't.
We're very keen on teaching history, teaching literature.
Maybe he just prefers reading a book about sentient pigs creating a society to a book about a sentient beetle becoming a victim of it. Number 13, Rebecca Vardy.
In what began with a bombshell tweet, it sparked one of the biggest tabloid scandals in recent years and ended with a high court battle like no other.
You could easily argue that Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney were both obnoxious, and that neither of them came out of this scandal smelling of roses. But it was Vardy who brought the court case against Rooney, and Vardy who spectacularly lost after messages emerged that appeared to show that she was undoubtedly doing everything Rooney had accused her of.
Never been involved in a court case before, and I would never wish it on my worst enemy.
The court transcripts were made into a drama by Channel 4 alarmingly quickly, further embarrassing Vardy and making us wonder why she ever thought going to court was a good idea.
Yeah, there was no investigation to her office. It was just, nailing down why would someone be doing this? Why? What would they get from it? How are they doing it?
The icing on the cake was Rooney getting a book deal and multiple documentaries out of the scandal when she emerged victorious. Number 12, Russell Brand.
Come on! Everyone does it. Don't be afraid of your own sexuality. Do be a bit afraid of mine, though.
Sadly, we don't have any footage of this incident that likely happened between Russell Brand and Katherine Ryan on the set of Roast Battle. Ryan and Brand were both judges on the first series, but Brand never returned for Series 2, and some have speculated that this was why. Ryan made repeated remarks about Brand's alleged victims, as well as his high-profile divorce from Katy Perry, comments he was so enraged about that they weren't aired in the show.
I know there are comedians who have made references in jokes to Russell's alleged crimes and have either been asked or told to not do those jokes anymore.
This all surfaced after many credible allegations against Brand came out in late 2023, including other remarks made by Ryan about a known predator in the industry, though she's never confirmed who she was talking about.
But by God, she looks so helpless, and her body's saying hell yes. I was like, whoa, her body is not saying that to you.
Number 11, Prince Andrew. Perhaps Prince Andrew owned himself with this one, as he starred in one of the most bizarre episodes of BBC Newsnight ever put on television.
Because she was very specific. She described the dance that you had together in Tramp. She described meeting you. She was a 17-year-old girl.
Hoping to rehabilitate his image after it came out, he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. He let Emily Mightless question him, asking about the allegations.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
His defense went viral as he claimed that the allegations had to be a lie because he was physically unable to sweat after suffering an adrenaline overdose in the Falklands. He also infamously said that on the night in question, he couldn't have been up to no good because he was at a birthday party in a Pizza Express in Woking.
And I'd taken Beatrice to a Pizza Express in Woking for a party.
Number 10, Simon Cowell. David Williams has made his career telling jokes that go close to the line, sometimes crossing it entirely. This was clear when he decided to take the music industry's most influential figure to task on Britain's Got More Talent. The judges were asked a series of questions by Stephen Mullen, including which one of them, after Simon, is the most powerful judge.
There we go, David's just finished. He's gone for Amanda because, oh, David.
Williams wrote a joke about Simon having slept with fellow judge Amanda Holden, which Simon thought was a step too far.
You've actually crossed the line.
But it's always funny when Simon Cowell gets brought down a peg or two. Number 9, J.K. Rowling. In 2020, J.K. Rowling made headlines after vocally and repeatedly criticizing transgender rights movements. The scandal began after she corrected an article that used the phrase "people who menstruate" to be inclusive of trans men and non-binary people, which she believed was insulting to women. After receiving a torrent of backlash, she responded to fellow author Stephen King when he retweeted her thanking him for his support. King later said to a different Twitter user that he believes trans women are women, leading Rowling to completely delete her praise for him and pretend it didn't happen. Of course, the moment was immortalized by those who managed to take screenshots before the dirty delete happened. Number 8, Preston.
Paris Hilton work was a low point for me. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing, and on top of that, it caused me some real problems with my hair.
Don't go onto a comedy panel show if you can't take a joke. Preston from The Ordinary Boys learnt this the hard way in an appearance on Nevermind the Buzzcocks in 2007. Host Simon Amstel decided to make fun of Preston's then-wife Chantel Horton by reading a few choice extracts from her autobiography.
The photo shoot was for the Daily Mail, which made me feel really posh and upmarket.
Oh, you brilliant, man. I'll see you later. I can't
What?
Sorry.
Oh, no, Preston, come
No,
on.
I'm seriously going home.
Preston, we're having fun.
Preston walked off the show in response, and a member of the audience, who looked a little bit like him, was brought on as a replacement.
What is your name? Ed. Hello, Preston.
With viewers firmly on Amstel's side, Preston definitely made a fool of himself, and on top of that, he and Horton broke up just 6 months later. Number 7, the Top Gear team.
Politically correct, middle-aged liberal, is I can't work out which one of the 3 Top Gear presenters to despise the most.
Stewart Lee is easily one of the country's most legendary comedians, but he said plenty of controversial things in his time, including a long rant he went on during a live tour against the team of Top Gear. Lee talked at length about his dislike for Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond, including taking shots at Hammond's near-fatal car crash.
So when I said that I wished Richard Hammond had been decapitated and killed, right? Like when they do their jokes on Top Gear.
But though their careers are still going strong, Lee was ahead of the curve in his criticism. He said they were bullies and called them out for often making offensive jokes. Finally, in 2015, Clarkson was fired from presenting after attacking one of the show's producers, making Lee even more vindicated.
She's being lesbian.
Blah, blah, the Welsh.
Imagine being Welsh and not being English.
Number 6, Gillian McKeith.
We really can't keep meeting like this.
We really can't keep meeting like this.
Vegetarian nutritionist Gillian McKeith was one of the most infamous contestants ever to go into the jungle. Her behaviour in the trials meant she was the public's first pick in numerous votes, and she had to find increasingly extreme ways to dodge them. This culminated in her epic fainting fit after being voted to do yet another trial.
Let's get Bob in.
Bob. Okay, bring the oxygen in, please.
She collapsed and medics were brought on to tend to her, with Anton Deck quickly going to an ad break. Immediately she was accused of faking her collapse just to get out of the trial, lambasted not only by the public but also by fellow contestants. In 2019, Nadine Coyle hilariously copied Gillian's fainting fit.
Come on, you're a machine, Nadine, let's go.
What did Jillian McKeith do? She just went like that.
Number 5, Katy Hopkins. The country's most hated public figure and journalist, Katy Hopkins, has been causing scandals from the beginning.
A name for me is a shortcut. It's a really efficient way of working out what class that child comes from. Do I want my children to play with them?
While more recently she made headlines by being permanently banned from Twitter and getting tricked into receiving a fake award by YouTube prankster Josh Peters, her most famous moment came during an argument on This Morning.
You judge children?
Yes.
On their names?
Yes, Holly.
She was on the show to defend her decision to prevent her kids from befriending other children based on whether their names sounded working class. Though she was already called a snob for this, she dug herself even deeper by saying she hates geographical names, prompting Philip Schofield to point out that her daughter is named India.
So, Brooklyn or London.
Your child's called India?
Yes, but you know, that's because she's...
Number 4, Bill Maher.
Says he believes the Messiah is about to come back. Who's looking for a war here?
So does George Bush, by the way.
President Bush has said...
Christopher Hitchens built much of his career on taking down public figures and debate opponents, destroying their arguments with so-called hitch slaps. He certainly didn't pull any punches when he made this appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher. During a political debate, Maher tries to counter Hitchens' point about Iran by criticising the Bush administration as well, which gets raucous applause from Maher's audience.
That's obviously just your audience, which will clap apparently anything, is frivolous.
Hitchens swears and flips off the audience and says the spectators are frivolous. He continues by calling out commentators like Maher for making easy jokes about Bush's IQ as opposed to substantial criticism.
You make about 5 George Bush IQ jokes per night. There's no one I know who can't do it. You know what I think? This is now the joke that stupid people laugh at. It's a joke that any dumb person can laugh at.
Number 3, Piers Morgan.
I get annoyed when people start banging on about politics on Facebook. It really annoys me. I've had to unfriend family members.
One of the most divisive journalists in the world, people have been mocking Piers Morgan for his entire career. And co-anchor Susanna Reid is famously no exception. When he decided to rant about seeing friends and family members moan about politics on Facebook and how sometimes he needs a break from current events, Susanna turned the tables and reminded him that this is how she feels every day.
Yeah, when someone just keeps going on and on and on, and you just need respite and a break, and you just wish you could defriend them, but you're just forced every day to listen to their views.
The clip went viral and was shared by various celebrities siding with Susanna, including Stephen Fry and Don Cheadle, prompting Piers to show a tragic re-edit of the scene on GMB.
Stephen Fry tweeted that clip with the comment, "This has caused sunshine to burst through the clouds."
Number 2, Donny Tourette. Towers of London's Donny Tourette didn't entirely realise that he was being made fun of by the show's resident comedians.
Good. That's what I think of you.
Really? You think me a small penis?
Simon Amstel and Bill Bailey take plenty of digs at him and most sail straight over his head. Tourette's bad attitude as a washed-up punk is constantly mocked by the panellists, and he even resorts to insulting the audience on more than one occasion. He tries to outwit Amstel and Bailey with little success, and spends much of the show smoking and wearing sunglasses indoors.
Oh, Donny's put sunglasses on. That'll tell Thatcher.
It's almost sad that Donny still thinks he has the upper hand, complaining at the end of the show that Phil's team should have won.
Punks love points.
Yeah, smash the system, but can he have another point?
Number 1, Gal Gadot and Friends.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Just days into widespread quarantines in the US, celebrities already saw fit to try and lift everyone's spirits. Inspired by a trumpeter playing John Lennon's Imagine on his balcony in Italy, Gal Gadot led the charge in making a montage of famous faces doing their own cover. They sang the melody out of time and without any music.
Imagine there's no countries, yeah.
Just days later, Joe Lycett enlisted some of the UK's best-known comedians to parody the video, changing keywords in the song to bastards.
Imagine there's no bastards.
There were appearances from Catherine Ryan, Rob Beckett, Harry Hill, Nish Kumar, and Noel Fielding, to name a few. Everyone saw through the original's hollow gesture. Let us know in the comments which celeb you hope gets brought down a peg or two in the future.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.